What's up, guys? It's LA Nick here. Today we're in the area of Italy they call Motor City. This is where all the Italian motorcycles and cars are built in this whole area of Italy. Right now we're in Pesaro, which is the home of Benelli. I had a Benelli for 30 years of my life. I bought a 750 SEI 6-cylinder in 1980 from these guys, and they actually have it here back at this factory. Let's check it out. 1925, the Springer front end, first suspension. Another 1925 with a split tank, a little bigger cc. This is a 300 cc. 125 Sport. Look how beautiful that is. Under tank frame, under the tank under the frame. There's a suicide shifter. It's just unbelievable motorcycle. Same with this 125. This is a 1927 125 with a single Springer front end. Another beautiful under frame tank. Love that bike. This is probably one of my favorites of the smalls. It's 150. It was actually a 147 cc. They called it a 150, but it's actually 147. I love the wide tank. I love the style of this bike. This bike's been restored. First one in the line that's been restored. This another gorgeous. This is the 175 Turismo, 1929. A little bit beefier, a little heavier suspension, bigger tires. Just a gorgeous machine. An unrestored 37. And check this stuff out. They got external valve springs. So the valve springs weren't even in the heads, they were external, which is pretty crazy. I mean, it's unheard of today, external valve springs. Inside this motor, I'll show you a cutout later, but most motorcycles and cars have a cam gear and a crank gear, and they have a chain. This is all gears. Very advanced engine. It has external valve springs, which today is craziness, but that's what it had. Instead of a timing chain, it actually had all these gears. And talk about some noise, this thing screams like just constantly screaming, because all these gears together made a lot of noise. Even just a car today, you take a chain out and put a gear in there, they scream. This thing was so loud. They were still using British carburetors at the time, Amel. They later on switched over to Delorto, which is much better of a carburetor, and they used Delorto through the whole history of Benelli. From 40 and up, they switched over to Delorto. And yeah, this is what made Benelli famous, this motor, because it was very advanced for its day. So when World War II broke out, Benelli Motorcycle Factory got turned into military, of course. And they built a lot of military bikes, including this utility vehicle, which is, this thing's just sick. It's a trike, it's like a trike, but it's got a big bed on the back, like a pickup truck. And they built a lot of motorcycles for the military. When the war came to an end, they had a lot of these left over. They built too many of them. And they actually turned them into the public. They made them for sale to the public, and the public used them to haul around groceries, and stores used them to deliver stuff. And they became very popular in Italy after the war. And we're going to move on now. This was the first generation. Let's go check out the second generation. Come on upstairs, check it out. So after the war, Benelli turned to a bigger market, small engine motorcycles to get around town, and they went crazy. It was their boom. And there's so many of them. I mean, there's literally so many miles, hundreds of miles, and they sold like crazy. And they actually started selling them in America at Montgomery Ward. They were called Riversides. They actually do not have a Riverside here in Italy. Believe it or not, they made thousands of them to America, but they don't actually have one at the Benelli Museum, and they're looking to find one. So if you have a Riverside, let me know. But let's check these out. They're all super cool. So I have a lot of favorites. This one's very bicycle-y. It almost looks like a bicycle. It actually has pedals, so it's considered a moped. This was 1960. They made a lot of scooters, and a lot of small engine bikes, and a lot of models. I mean, there's a lot of models here. They're all different. And it's crazy that this company had made so many different kind of bikes. Some of them are really moped. Like this looks like an early American moped that we saw in America. But these were never in America, this particular Benelli. They tried a bunch of different names at times, like Motorby, and to market them to different countries. Like there's a Motorby there. But they're actually all made by Benelli. This thing's kind of crazy looking, pretty futuristic. That looks like something to be made today. You know, in the late 50s, early 60s, Japan really destroyed most motorcycle companies. They came out with the Honda Dream, and a bunch of other, Yamaha came out, and they marketed all over the world. And companies like Benelli, Ducati, Laverda, Norton, Triumph, they all got crushed. I mean, crushed. So they were all scrambling to redesign and come out with a better bike, faster bike. So this was that generation of Benelli. You can see they have a horizontal piston rod instead of vertical. Still not a fan of the horizontal motor, but I love that head. That head's just cool. We're going to go downstairs to the next floor and check out the next generation, which is my favorite because that's what I had, is the 70s and 80s. Come on, check it out. This is my favorite room of Benelli. This is my generation of Benelli. You know, in the early 70s, they got bigger. They made bigger CC bikes. This is a 650 Tornado, which was just a powerhouse machine. You know, they went to the big, they had big steel drum brakes in the front, big Brembo drum in the front, big Brembo drum in the back. Powerful, just a solid bike, no wobbles, no nothing, no tanks, so just a solid machine. You know, this is when they merged with Motor Guzzi. If you take this triple tree off, you'll see Motor Guzzi underneath, and these were just solid machines. And you can see even the Polizia of Italy bought this bike for police bikes because they're almost equivalent to a Honda. I mean, you look at this, you look at the top of this motor, you even look at this valve. This is all looks like just like a Honda 750. I mean, it looks exactly like it. I mean, down to the casting. But they went to the Lordo carbs, and just a dependable, solid machine. This one's unrestored and looks. I mean, it's not bad. The motor needs to be cleaned up, but it's not bad. This goes down to a 345. I always liked this little bike. I don't know why. I rode one a couple times. They have a lot of power. It's almost like a Honda 400. I mean, the motor is almost identical. In fact, these actually fit from a Honda 750 and 550. They fit this bike. I broke one of these, tightened it too hard and broke it, and used the Honda 750 one, and it worked, screwed right on. This is actually a 125 two-stroke, and you know, two-strokes are illegal in America today, but they still have them here in Italy. These are all Benelli's two-stroke line. And I don't know if you ever rode a two-stroke, but two-strokes have what they call a power band. So you're just cruising along, all of a sudden it just kicks in by itself. And two-strokes are fun bikes. They're wheelie machines. They love the wheelie. And Benelli tried the two-stroke run in the 70s. And then when America made two-strokes outlawed because of pollution regulations, they dropped it. This is the Quattro. It's a 254 cylinder that came out in 1977. Very futuristic with the tank and the seat all one piece. Got the gauges mounted into the tank. I mean, it was a space machine in that year. I mean, if you were to know what the thing. I always thought this bike was kind of cool. It's kind of hokey, but it's kind of cool. Actually, today, I like it better than I did back in the day, but nice bike. Now, at this time of Benelli, Di Mattaso, who's the designer, who designed the Pantera, started designing for Benelli. And he made this generation of motorcycles. These are where I came into the picture. And this particular one right here is an 82. They called it a 304, but it was actually just a 231 cc, 4-cylinder. And pretty bike, not a lot of power, but it was good for the street. This is where they get into the big ones. This is a 654 Sport. This particular one is a 1982. This was a Di Mattaso bike, designed, and a powerful bike. Could compete with the Honda 550s. Very few came to America. This was my bike, and people don't understand. I rode this bike my whole adult life, from 16 all the way until the year 2000. And this is a 750 6-cylinder, inline 6, and 6 separate pipes. People wanted that 6 separate exhaust. Nothing sounds like it. I mean, it doesn't. It's like I call it like, say it's like an outboard boat motor and a Ferrari. Like there's just so many timings going on. It's just, you sound like you're doing 100 miles an hour when you're doing 5. And it's just an awesome sounding bike. Just when I thought I'd seen it all, this guy, Paolo Marcanelli, director of the Benelli Museum, took me to a place that absolutely blew my mind. Paolo took me to a private museum of Giancarlo Mortabelli. Mortabelli started out making machinery for woodworking and growing his company into a worldwide enterprise. All the while, his true passion lied in motorcycles, and so in the back of the factory, he started building bikes.
Now we'll go to Giancarlo Morbidelli.
Morbidelli's bike won the World Grand Prix 4 times, and he now owns a private collection that is the holy grail of motorcycles.
Now, attention.
Check this out. Look at these. Look at this. So this was the first Benelli engine, and it goes all the way up until 61. This is amazing. This is just sickening. I mean, this is a dream world. Holy cow.
What do you think, Nick?
Unbelievable, man.
What do you think?
It's just unbelievable.
I said you, there is the first museum for bike in Europe.
But this,
why not?
But I didn't
why?
expect this.
Why? Because Pesaro was the first for bike. Because in Pesaro there was Benelli, there was Moto B, there was Morbidelli, there was San Venero, there was Molaroni, there was MBA, there was... Okay.
What year are we looking at here? 1912. You're talking a long time ago. Gas-powered headlights. I mean, this is powered by fuel in the tank, which is insane. On a spring. So when you go down the road, just bounce. Yeah, you light it with a match. Oh, it's a candle. It's actually a candle going down the stem, and you lit that candle and closed the door. Can you even imagine that? Come on, man.
1904.
Suspension, not much of suspension, but it's got one. A candle headlight. Come on, man.
From France.
And look at the machine in this tank, the machine work in this tank, how the frame goes in the tank. Beautiful, beautiful tank. It's a German Zundap. You don't see Zundaps in America, very rare. Kind of similar to the BMW motor. I always liked Zundaps. They made some strange bikes, but this was one of my favorites. It's a stamped metal frame, no tube, and I always thought this bike was cool just because it's a stamped frame, all one piece, no tubing. And very rare for that time era to have no tubing. Can you even imagine? Can you even imagine having all this? One man shouldn't own all this. I mean, it's insane. Benelli was building this bike in 40, 41. And then World War II, but this was, come on, this is a modern day bike. In 41, this is crazy. I mean, this is super modern for that era. And a radiator, I mean, it was just a super modern bike. So then they were way ahead of everybody else. But then the war broke out. And once the war broke out, this whole area of Italy couldn't make anything. You went to the war effort. So this bike never got made. They only manufactured 4 of them. So this bike could have changed the history of motorcycles and Benelli. I mean, nobody went to water-cooled there. I mean, it didn't happen again, I think, until the 70s. So it was way ahead of its time, and it could have changed the history of Benelli, but it didn't happen because of the war. You always can tell a two-stroke, you see these big chamber exhaust pipes. This gave a power band more rev in the power band. If you don't know bikes and you see this this little pipe going to a fat pipe, you know it's a two-stroke. This small town of Pesaro, Italy is a treasure trove of Italian motorcycles. There was more motorcycle manufacturers in this one small beach town than any other city in all of Europe. I'm LA Nick, and I look forward to showing you the inside story of these motorcycles and the amazing men who built them.